Hi, I'm Jamie Miller, a registered SQF consultant and food safety consultant at Kellerman Consulting, and you are watching our video series on environmental monitoring programs. In our last episode, we introduced some of the basic practices and concepts for environmental monitoring, and in this episode, we are going to focus on determining how frequently a facility should swab for environmental pathogens or quality organisms in the facility. As a part of this review, we will talk about risk assessments for environmental monitoring, trending analysis after swabbing, and review of those results to update the swabbing frequency over time. The most important issue in determining the frequency of swabbing in a facility is to understand that each facility is different and there is no set number of swabs or number of times each month or year that is right for everyone. Instead, you need to have an understanding as to why you have selected both the number of swabs you will use each time you perform an environmental monitoring action, as well as how often you need to perform these swabs to keep the food or food packaging safe in regards to pathogens. Let's begin by taking a look at the facilities that swab infrequently throughout the year. A simple rule to keep in mind for environmental monitoring programs is that the wetter the operation is, the more frequently the facilities should be swabbing for pathogens, since water is very important for microbial growth. All facilities must use water at a minimum for employee hygiene, such as hand washing. But if water is rarely or never used in the GMP areas, it is reasonable to expect that there will be limited opportunity for the growth of mold, yeast, pathogens, or spoilage organisms, although they are most certainly present in the air and probably even on dry surfaces. This is the case for many food packaging companies, dry spice facilities, granaries, and ambient storage and distribution facilities. The frequency of swabbing in these types of facilities may be only once or twice per year, with a very limited number of swabs, and that can be justified where ingredients require further processing. Similarly, for operations with a kill step in operations, whether that be an oven, kettle, chemical application, or high-pressure pasteurizer, environmental monitoring is usually not performed prior to that step. In these operations, it may be okay to not swab the raw side for spoilage organisms or pathogens, since the kill step equipment will remove the risk of those, and to instead focus on monitoring the post-lethality areas to assure the safety and quality organisms are not introduced following the kill step. So let's look at environmental monitoring frequency, where cleaning and sanitizing are performed regularly, and facilities which are generally wet. When facilities use cleaners and sanitizers as part of operations, those chemicals are designed and utilized to remove biological hazards or chemical hazards from food contact surfaces and generally have validation studies performed against them proving their effectiveness. Here, chemical hazards are mainly allergens, coloring agents, and strong-smelling scents. For biological hazards, we are speaking of pathogens, yeasts, molds, or other spoilage organisms. Effective cleaners and sanitizers are used according to a schedule and are targeted to production services and adjacent areas. Because cleaners and sanitizers remove virtually all bacteria on the places where they are used, if spoilage organisms or dangerous pathogens are in the facility, and if they are transferred to a recently cleaned and sanitized surface, those unacceptable organisms have an opportunity to thrive without competition. Similarly, facilities with exposed piping, roof leaks, or temperature control units, especially coolers and freezers, regularly experience pooling water, and anywhere water collects is a place where spoilage organisms or dangerous pathogens can live and grow. Where those cleaning and sanitizing agents are used or pooling water conditions are present, swabbing once or twice a year is not appropriate, since we can have extended periods where unacceptable organisms may be present and can present a high risk to migrate into GMP and food contact areas. For those facilities, a swabbing frequency of quarterly, monthly, or more than once per month should be considered and planned. So now that we have established that some facilities may choose once or twice per year for swab frequency, while others may choose quarterly, monthly, or weekly monitoring frequencies in the facility, let's look a bit more closely to determine what may be right for your facility. No matter what type of food or food packaging facility is under consideration, it is the opinion of Kellerman Consulting that every facility should perform at a minimum one environmental monitor action with at least one swab each year. The reason why this is important is because this will make sure someone in the facility is aware of what lab is to be used, how to order swabs, and how to use the swabs and receive results. This is the minimum requirement for validating an environmental monitoring program and is the practice necessary to make sure the facility is prepared to amplify the program in a case where a regulator, auditor, or customer demands environmental monitoring happens regularly. In those minimum scenarios, we also recommend at least one pathogen and one indicator test to ensure there is familiarity on the range of biological organisms which are tested for in the facility. Only those facilities that do not have water used in operations for cleaning and sanitizing as a food ingredient, or where no pooling water is regularly observed, should consider once-a-year swabbing, or even twice-a-year swabbing. For those facilities where water is used in operations, or where water is regularly present, the facility should anticipate that the swabbing frequencies of quarterly, monthly, or more than once per month may be considered on a case-by-case basis. As part of that planning, areas where water buildup is common and targeting areas near exposed food is important. Swabbing sites should be rotated, and an aggressive effort should be undertaken to seek out pathogen and spoilage organisms so that corrective actions such as extra cleaning and sanitizing can be performed to ensure materials and exposed product in the facility are not at risk from environmental hazards. With all of the consideration for how frequently swabbing should occur, we need to introduce how to actually conduct environmental monitoring. In our next episode, we will dive into how to perform environmental swabbing based on a schedule, and this will include where to purchase environmental swabs, types of swabs, how to swab, and how to submit them to a lab to get proper results. Thank you for watching. For more food safety training videos and resources, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel or follow us on LinkedIn.